Hey, what's going on, my friend? And welcome to another episode of Unlocking Excellence with your main man, Eric Schwefel. What up, y'all? If you have not been here before, welcome to Unlocking Excellence, where you get the keys to unlocking excellence. So, what are the keys? They're tips, they're tricks, they are stories, and so much more as to what unlocking excellence can be in your life. So, if you don't know what excellence is, I would definitely encourage you to go to the first couple episodes so that you can really find out what this is about. And then from there, you can see how these different episodes, they build on top of each other, right? You can listen to them individually as well, of course, but I would highly encourage to get to those because they have some information that can lay out a foundation to help you and support you as you create that foundation. Now, remember this too. I love to preach the word. I love to talk about the way, the truth, and the life. So if you want the firmest foundation, the immaculate foundation, the one that's never going to fail you, then make sure to build your house on the solid rock. It's where I stand on Jesus Christ, right? So when you do that, when you build it on him, you are never alone. You are always having somebody there to help build your house with you, right? You take up your cross and you walk with the Lord, and my goodness, you just go to another level. So with that being said, I hope that you're still here and that you stuck around. Today, I have a very interesting episode for you, and it's different modes of exercising. At least that's what I'm calling it, is going to be different modes of exercising. So what do I mean by different modes of exercising when I say that? What I mean when I say different modes of exercising is understanding and getting to know yourself a little bit better than maybe you had before. So for me, I have been exercising since around 15, 16 years old, somewhere right in there. And I'll do a story one day if I haven't already. I can't remember if I have on how I got started with exercising and my whole journey along there. I didn't want to do it for the longest time because I didn't think of it as a humble thing to do. And I wanted to stay in my humility. But now I realize I have enough of a story to be able to impact people. And look, that's even something in and of itself where I didn't think I had a story to impact people, right? So it can say a lot just from that. Now, with that being said, what are those different modes of exercising, right? Because when I first started off, man, I was powerlifting, I was bodybuilding, I just wanted to be as strong as possible. And I still have those inklings within me and staying to a rigid structure, which is really great because that structure will allow me to continue to explore new things. But man, sticking on that, I don't know about for you, but it's kind of it has been difficult for me. So how I keep myself interested in going and exercise all this time, especially with being the person that I'm accountable to, right? I don't have a coach 24/7 for my fitness. I'm the one who stays on that. So to stay in relatively decent shape, one of the things that I like to do is explore different modalities, different ways of doing things. So maybe it's powerlifting, maybe it's bodybuilding, maybe it's running. My recent thing has been rock walking, so walking with a backpack and walking on that thing or with that thing for 45 minutes outside. Oh, dude, in freaking Louisiana summer, it gets hot, bro. It gets hot, but that's okay. That's the way that it is, right? So what else do I mean by this? This one's going to be way left field. But by working the inner muscles, right? By working the different pieces that are within you that you might not realize. So over the last couple of years, I've done a lot of researching and a lot of watching and understanding on what it means to be on the spectrum, the autistic spectrum, right? And apparently, they're starting to really merge a lot of things, including anxiety disorder, obsessive compulsiveness or compulsive, OCD. Did I mention? Yeah, anxiety, ADHD, autism, Asperger's is actually now like ASD, which is autism. And then they have a few other things like rejection syndrome, I think is another one. Another one is like perceived syndrome, like when you're perceived. So there's a whole bunch of things and what you could call social disorders, which are really just preferences for living, I would say. But they're listing them as these disorders, right? So as I'm learning more and more about this, I see a lot of my habits and a lot of the things that I do in my life as part of these quote unquote symptoms, right? Now, I'm not going to go into that today. That's something else to go into. But as I started to research this more and not think myself so crazy, like, oh yeah, no, everybody does this, and then learning that no, not everybody thinks this same way. Not everybody understands things in the same way. We all have our model of reality, right? We all have our own way of understanding and moving through the world, and we are moving into an even larger separation, meaning like some people choose to identify as a cat when they're obviously not a cat. And some people try to identify as other genders when they weren't physically born that way. Now, I'm not going into gender identity or any of that kind of stuff, right? Because everybody has their own model of reality. They experience their world in a certain way. So for them, something might be true or it might not be true, whether or not it is a result of a malfunction in thinking and perception or not, right? So, what I would want is if I was in a tough spot, I'd want somebody to respect and love me and show compassion towards me rather than like pimp slap me around a little bit, you know? I might need that pimp slapping. Don't get me wrong. I might need that pimp slapping, but that pimp slapping ain't going to be effective. I say pimp slap because I just watched this funny movie, and Jamie Foxx was a pimp in it, so that's why my mind goes there. That and Dave Chappelle, but anyway, sometimes you might need to be woken up and saying, no, this is not the way. If you keep heading this way, it's not going to work. Sometimes you need to step in to be your brother's keeper. And then there are other times where that is not the effective approach. And what you want is where to approach things with effectiveness. So as I'm beginning to hear and dive deeper into these different ways of being, I start to see that one of the things that can affect this is your diaphragm, right? Your diaphragm. So I'm not talking about the one that allows you to have more fun. I'm talking about the one that helps you breathe. And what I didn't realize is that in some cases, in many cases, the way that we breathe affects so much of our way of being. Now, you might say, Eric, well, obviously, duh, we breathe thousands of times a day. You do it without even knowing it. Well, exactly. But what happens is many times we're unconscious throughout our entire day. We don't really know what's going on. Think about it. You get into your car, you drive from point A to point B, you don't even know how you got there, right? You were on autopilot. Maybe that's a better way to put it. We're on autopilot for a good portion of our day. And so when we do get on this autopilot, what ends up happening because of the autopilot, right? What ends up happening is we create an autopilot state. So we go straight back to that state. Now, you might be chest breathing, you might be shallow breathing, I don't know if you could hear that, but you might be doing rapid breathing, right? Or real shallow and quick breathing instead of holding it for a little while and then a little bit longer, more intentional and conscious breathing. And y'all, it makes a difference. It really does. It really, really does. So my encouragement to you is to be mindful of your breath, right? To be mindful of your breath. Now, Eric, what does this have to do with different types of training? Well, one thing that I always disliked about myself for the longest time was my voice. Whenever I would hear my voice back to me, I could I have like this sense, y'all, where I can dive a little bit deeper. I think it's like the parent sense. You can kind of sense what's wrong with somebody just by the tone in their voice. I have that sensitivity, and so whenever I heard my voice, I could hear the things that I didn't like, right? And so it bothered me, and I wanted to start working on my voice. So I did that for years and years and years, where I would become more confident, and I noticed the more confident I became, the more different my voice became as well. And so it became an asset, right? I started using it for motivation. I can't tell you about singing now. I still don't think I'm the best singer, but I used it for motivation. I used it for coaching, and I learned how to increase the volume, and I learned how to inflect and use different tone and to take those pauses to allow for things to really sink in for people, right? And how to communicate in certain ways. Then I came across something called vocal image training and breathwork. Well, breathwork had been something that I came across for a long time. Breathwork was something that's real interesting. I came across it from Wim Hof, who is known as the Iceman, right? He's all about getting in the cold, being as cold as you can, and then it helps you be present to your breath, and it helps get you tough and release testosterone and a whole bunch of other amazing hormones. So if you haven't gotten the cold therapy, let me know. I can teach you a little bit. I can do a podcast on that. And there's a whole bunch of stuff. So my friend, with that, breath work works out everything. I mean, it's kind of like you put yourself in a state of highness because you're like high on air, right? You take real deep breaths, you exhale whatever the count is per the instructor, and you do these rapid breaths repeatedly, and it fills up your lungs, it saturates your lungs, and it helps you just get to a whole nother level. And I love it. It's amazing. Excuse me. It's amazing stuff. So the thing that I would encourage is for you to get into that, because as you begin to take in more oxygen, you begin to alkalize, if I pronounce that right, acidic and alkalinity. So you alkalinize the body, and you bring it more front to a basic pH instead of a more acidic pH. So as you begin to do that, you feel better, you're able to process more, you become more relaxed, you feel better. I mean, there's so many good things that happen because of that, right? So my friend, I would encourage you, if you haven't already, start to get on that breath work. You can of course do that with water, but some water is a lot more acidic than you would believe. So you would want some maybe some lemon, you would want maybe some lime, and that helps out with reducing the acidity in the body. And watermelon is really good for that. I love freaking watermelon. And so you can have that too, right? There's a whole bunch of different stuff. And then the other piece I mentioned was vocal image training. Vocal image training. So that is all about the image that your voice gives to the person that's listening, right? So if I was to talk a little bit more like this, maybe that would be better for you. The perception that I get with this is it's a little bit shyer, a little bit more maybe reserved, a little bit more quiet. And, if I put this in my voice too, you see there's a certain image that you start to get. And then I'm not going to increase the volume of my voice here because I can be so much louder. You understand though, you get what I'm saying, right? So there's some things that make somebody so attractive. And what I thought about this was a few different things, right? We're sound producing machines. Who are the most quote unquote popular, revered people on the planet? It's those that are not only like beautiful, right? But those that have a great voice. Think about singers, think about actors, think about people who communicate information to us. They got there for a certain reason, for their presence, and then for how they show up in the world, right? So I found that pretty curious. I found that pretty interesting. And so with that, I wanted to start working on my voice. And what I came to find is it's breath work, intentional breath work on pronunciation, tonality, deepness, volume, pitch, tone, projection, and I think there was another one that they measured this by, liveliness. And so I started to train. Maybe you can tell the difference, maybe you can't. I feel great from it. But my diaphragm was not functioning properly. I wasn't breathing enough. I wasn't breathing how I needed to be breathing in order to optimally get the most amount of oxygen that I needed, right? I had asthma when I was a kid. I got vaccines when I was a kid. So all that stuff plays a big, big role. And I believe that if you're not intentional with your body, then your body can't be intentional with you. Not that it doesn't take care of you in such a way, but if you're training and you're eating nothing but junk food, then it's like giving a Ferrari regular gas instead of the premium fuel that it needs. You need to be able to give yourself this premium fuel. You need to be able to show up for yourself in such a way that you respect yourself, you respect your body, and then that way your body starts to respect you, right? It's all about relationship here. So as I'm growing, I'm starting to realize it's not just about the muscles. Don't get me wrong, that's great, but it's also about the breath and then, of course, posturing and how you show up and how these stabilizers work. And me being and having what it is that I have, I'm freaking hypermobile, man. So if you have hypermobility, if you have naturally relaxed joints, then one thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to research a little bit more into how to stabilize these joints, how to make sure that you have the right amount of electrolytes, that you're staying hydrated, and that you're keeping your mind in a really good place, right? Because having this little bit more of lax joints and this hypermobility can be a causer of pain. So understand that as well. So as you get deeper into this journey of exercising, you get deeper into the journey of yourself, which is a beautiful thing. And it can scare off a lot of people. That's why they go through their cycles of going to the gym and not going to the gym. And to be honest with you, if you made it this far, I'm going to be straight truth. Like, I don't get how people don't work out. Like, y'all, I feel terrible if I don't work out, if I don't get like, because the mental aspect that it does. And, like, don't get me wrong, I like my sugar, but I cannot stand not being able to exercise or getting some type of energy expulsion going because otherwise I'm just in pain. I just don't feel good, and that's more than likely the problem that so many people run into is they just don't feel good. So they keep chasing the bullshit that they think makes them feel good, right? Like sugar is a perfect example. It drains you of nutrients and minerals. It is like cocaine, activates that same region of the brain. It is not natural in the body. Some sugar, the way that it's combined, the ingredients actually form like basically poison in your body. So you're digesting that, and so the quick high from the sugar allows dopamine release, and you're like, oh yes, I feel great, I'm amazing, this is something incredible, right? And so if you aren't, or if you are doing that, then you realize you need more sugar to keep feeling better, and then you fill it up with not water, because water doesn't taste as good as another drink that's filled with sugar. And so you keep putting yourself into this debt of let me release dopamine in my brain with sugar, but then give my body poison in order for it to function and for me to feel good. And that's just, I like to call it positively assaulting yourself. You're just positively assaulting yourself over and over and over. So the thing that you want to do is just slowly move away from that, right? If you don't keep your focus on the bad and you start to move your focus towards the good, it's going to be uncomfortable for about 1 to 4 days. But if you can make it that far, you can do anything, man. So if you need some help with that, please let me know. I'm a coach. I'm going to be doing some more online stuff. I'm going to be traveling here. So I want to take that as an opportunity to offer more mobile solutions, right? Maybe we get on a call and then we send a workout program to you. We figure out what that looks like, how it feels, and then we get into it from there. So, my friend, you are unstoppable. I love you. I hope that you have a great and phenomenal day. I know you will. And please share this bad boy out. Share this bad boy out. Share this bad boy out. Tag me. And I think that's all I got for you. So, have a wonderful day. Breathing, breath work, and vocal image training. And I'll go in a little bit deeper on that too. So maybe include this as a part of your exercise program to feel real good more often than you feel bad. All right. Peace.